I'm Liz Forbles, and this is Currents. A group of talented young people in Mexico gets ready for the performance of a lifetime.
It's really amazing because, I love to dance, I'm a dancer. But, performing for something like this that has a deeper meaning.
Plus, 5 things you did not know about the Pope's trip there. And a Catholic academy in Brooklyn that assists the church's mission to serve.
Children from disadvantaged families benefit more from a Catholic education. Therefore, the necessity of our contribution to this effort.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Ahead of Pope Benedict's trip to Mexico and Cuba, the Vatican has released data on Catholicism in both countries. Now, in Mexico, Pope Benedict's first stop, nearly 92% of the population, that's more than 99.5 million people, are Catholic. The country is home to 163 bishops and more than 16,000 priests. Mexico also has close to 9,000 Catholic schools, encompassing all levels of education. Now, it's a different story over in Cuba, which geographically is much smaller than Mexico. More than 60% of that country's population, close to 7 million people, are Catholic. Cuba has 17 bishops, 361 priests, and 12 Catholic schools. Now, Pope Benedict keeping busy on a Latin American journey that will include its fair share of music. Father Jorge Ortiz of St. Joseph Church in Prospect Heights, Brooklyn, is in Mexico covering the Pope's trip there for Currents. He met a group of young people that make up the music ministry Vida Nueva, who will be performing for the Holy Father.
Hi, I'm Father Jorge Ortiz from the Diocese of Brooklyn. Today we have the opportunity to be present at the rehearsal of the Ministry of Music, and this is what they have to tell to the Pope.
I've had the opportunity to dance, in front of amazing audiences, and it's really amazing because, I love to dance, I'm a dancer. But, performing for something like this that has a deeper meaning, that is for, renew hope and bring hope to people, it's something completely different. The first time I danced, these songs, it was like 3 people in the audience, but still I'm dancing for him, I'm dancing for God, and it's a completely new meaning for someone like me. Reaching God in the way that I love something, doing something that I love, that it's dancing, it's the best thing I've found so far in my life.
It's difficult to be a young Catholic because other young people can't bother you or make some things with you. But you have God with you, and you have to be strong to get over that things.
Be part of this group, for me it's very excited because the thing that I really like, sing to me for God, it's very, very important for me.
There's a God, there's something that is, holding us here. We're not just pieces of meat walking and breathing and living. They can find God through things that they love. For example, I found God through dancing. I found this ministry, and it's amazing.
I feel when I sing for God, so many things. God give me so many things in my life. This is my way for thank Him.
I still can't believe it, but it's a sensation that, I don't know, I'm excited right now, and I think it's a great opportunity for Mexico to get the things right, to do some things that other countries said that Mexico can't do. If I had the opportunity to shake hands with the Pope, I will tell him that Mexico loves him.
Oh, it's a big day ahead for Vida Nueva with a lot of fun on the agenda. Father Jorge also spoke with the music director of the group, and you can see that interview over on our website, currentsny.net. Stay tuned, there's more Currents ahead. When we return, the standoff is over following a deadly attack at a Jewish school in France. We'll have that story and the rest of the day's headlines next. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Liz Faublas. Coming up later, a Catholic academy in Brooklyn that's an extension of the church's mission. But first, let's have a look at the day's headlines. After a 32-hour standoff, the man suspected of murdering 7 people, including 3 children and a teacher at a Jewish school in Toulouse, died during a police raid. Mohamed Murray was found dead on the ground after jumping out of his first-floor apartment window following a gunfight with police. His brutal rampage sent shockwaves across the globe, forcing local Jewish schools and synagogues right here in Brooklyn and elsewhere to ramp up their security amid concerns about copycats. Now, as David Pollack, Associate Executive Director of the Jewish Community Relations Council, told us yesterday, we are all at risk of terrorist attacks, and people across all faiths need to remain vigilant. However, when it comes to dealing with terrorism, New York City is not taking any chances.
We have to balance between being a warm and welcoming environment, because that's what our ministry is. We want people to come in. We want people who are troubled to feel free to approach us. But at the same time, we have to be secure. What Commissioner Kelly does, and he's absolutely brilliant, and the NYPD, as we know, is the finest police force in the world. And one of the strategies that they came in with is that they want to demonstrate that New York is not a soft target. All of New York is a hard target. So one thing that they a signal that they continue to send is that if you're a terrorist and you're thinking of attacking a church, a synagogue, a school, or the Brooklyn Bridge, you might get caught.
And the gunman in Toulouse claimed ties to al-Qaeda and said he spent time on the Afghanistan-Pakistan border, according to police. The crimes make him the first homegrown Islamic terrorist to commit violent acts on French soil. A reference to a children's toy had Mitt Romney explaining himself yesterday. Appearing on CNN, the Romney campaign communications director was asked if the former Massachusetts governor would be forced too far to the right, a move that may turn off moderate voters in the general election. Here's how he answered.
Well, I think you hit a reset button for the fall campaign. Everything changes. It's almost like an Etch-a-Sketch. You can kind of shake it up and we start all over again.
Well, Romney's more conservative critics took that to mean that he would take a more moderate stance on issues close to their hearts should he get the Republican presidential nomination. Now, it was a theory not lost on Romney's conservative Catholic challengers.
This morning we had the perfect example of why Governor Romney's having so much trouble. Now, it's captured by this. Any of you know what this is?
You take whatever he said and just shake it up and it'll be gone, and he's going to draw a whole new picture for the general election. Well, that should be comforting to all you who are voting in this primary, that whoever you're going to vote for is going to be a completely new candidate.
Well, Romney was not concerned about the hubbub. He says his campaign will change should he get the nomination, but his positions will stay the same.
When the campaign moves to becoming a general election campaign, the nature of the campaign itself, in terms of staff, funding, the states we go to will be different than today. Obviously, it's a much larger campaign. Fundraising numbers are very different. We now work with the Republican National Committee instead of apart from any committee of that nature. So organizationally, a general election campaign takes on a different profile. The issues I'm running on will be exactly the same. I'm running as a conservative Republican. I was a conservative Republican governor. I'll be running as a conservative Republican nominee, or excuse me, at that point, hopefully, nominee for president. The policies and positions are the same.
The next Republican primary is this Saturday in Louisiana. Well, do you find there is too much talk of religion in politics? Well, if you do, you're not alone, according to a survey by Pew Research Center. The number of people who say there has been too much religious talk by political leaders stands at an all-time high since Pew began asking the question more than a decade ago. Here's the breakdown. Nearly 4 in 10 Americans, about 38%, now say there has been too much expression of religious faith and prayer from political leaders. 30% say there has been too little. Now, you want to compare that to a year ago where more said there was too little than too much religious expression from politicians. The percentage saying there is too much expression of religious faith by politicians has increased across party lines, but this view remains far more widespread among Democrats than Republicans. North Carolina's bishops respond after President Obama's presidential campaign criticizes a measure in the state that would affirm marriage as between a man and a woman. In a statement last week, the spokesman for North Carolina's presidential campaign said the ballot measure would single out and discriminate against same-sex couples. Now, in a statement released yesterday, North Carolina's bishop said that they strongly disagree with that assessment. The bishops reinforced the church's stance against hatred and unjust treatment of anyone. The bishops say that stance does not negate the understanding of marriage as being between a man and a woman. They urge voters to support the North Carolina ballot initiative. An effort to overturn the law allowing same-sex marriage in New Hampshire is on hold for now. The state's House of Representatives voted yesterday to kill a measure that would have repealed same-sex marriage and replaced it with civil unions. The Diocese of Manchester had been urging voters to contact their state representatives to support the measure. Well, a lawsuit in Illinois is challenging the location of a strip club that is preparing to open next to a convent. The Thomas More Society filed a suit on behalf of the Missionary Sisters of St. Charles Borromeo and local residents. Now, according to Catholic News Agency, opponents of the club say the sisters and other neighbors were not properly informed about it. A new report from the Vatican news agency Fides reveals a disturbing number of deaths among Catholic missionaries. At least 1,000 missionaries have been killed from 1980 to 2011. Now, Fides does note that the numbers that they tallied represent confirmed cases that actually made it to the news. Also a factor in not only collecting but reporting the data, the increased speed with which mass media spreads the news even from the most remote places. Data shows 115 missionaries were violently killed between 1980 and 1989. Now, if you want to fast forward that to the decade of 1990 to 2000, Fides reports 604 missionaries were killed, but notes the genocide in Rwanda in that time period accounts for at least 248 victims among those missionaries. Last year in 2011, 26 pastoral workers were killed, 18 priests, 4 women, religious, 4 lay people. Well, the story of Noah, starring Russell Crowe. Yes, indeed, the Oscar winner replacing Christian Bale in the upcoming movie about Noah's Ark, according to Deadline.com. Darren Aronofsky will direct the film, saying he has been inspired by the story of Noah and his family's journey ever since he was a child, calling the tale an epic story of faith. He says of the project, "It's my hope that I can present a window into Noah's passion and perseverance for the silver screen." Now, if the director's name sounds familiar to you ardent movie buffs, it's because this is the same man who recently directed the Oscar-nominated Black Swan. Crowe has won 2 Academy Awards for leading roles in Gladiator and A Beautiful Mind. And finally, it's the most expensive Mexican movie ever made, and it chronicles the life of a man who banned religious practice in Mexico. Now, during a week where Pope Benedict plans to travel to Mexico, visit the country's most sacred sites, and celebrate Mass in Leon's Cathedral, we learned that religious freedom in the country was pretty hard won. Rome Reports tells us more about President Plutarco Elias Calles, whose actions ignited a fight for religious liberty that many say helped establish the Mexico we know today.
A Mexican group from 1926 known as the Cristeros is getting some attention in the new film called For Greater Glory. It's the most expensive Mexican movie ever made. For Greater Glory tells the story of President Elias Calles, who banned religious practice in Mexico. The cast includes Andy Garcia, Eva Longoria, Peter O'Toole, and Eduardo Verastegui. Recently, its producer, Pablo Barroso, traveled to Rome to present the movie.
It's a story that's never been shown. I didn't know about it. I think it's important to understand your roots, who your parents were, who your grandparents were, and your great-grandparents. And that's what we've done. They're people who didn't turn against God. They're people who agreed to leave not only their heritage, but also their lives, their families, in the name of God.
In the year 2005, Benedict XVI beatified 13 martyrs from the Cristero War. The story of 6 of them appears in the film. Stories like that of Anacleto González Flores and 14-year-old José Luis Sánchez del Río. The producer says the fight of the Cristeros made religious freedom possible in Mexico.
In 1923, the Apostolic Nuncio Philippi was expelled for celebrating a Mass to bless a monument to Christ the King. Now we are 90 years later, and we didn't make this movie knowing that the Pope would be going to Mexico for his trip to Guanajuato, to the base of the monument of Christ the King, where the Apostolic Nuncio would run.
The producer is actually an entrepreneur. He's not dedicated only to the world of cinema, but he worked on the movie to show his 4 children and the world this historic fight the Mexican people took on for religious freedom.
Even if I were younger.
Stay tuned, there's more currents ahead. Coming up, Mexicans will add some homegrown traditions to Pope Benedict's visit. Welcome back. In less than 24 hours, Pope Benedict is scheduled to touch down in Mexico. Rome Reports has more on the setting of the Pope's trip and what's ahead for the Holy Father during his time in Mexico.
The Pope will soon arrive to Mexico. Even though the visit will be short, it will be full of highlights. And as a preview, here's a list of 5 key points. John Paul II visited Mexico 5 times, but this will be the first visit for Benedict XVI. Once he arrives to the airport of Guanajuato in the city of León, he'll be received with military honors and, of course, with upbeat mariachi music in the background.
Guanajuato
is a beautiful area, and for the visit there are other events that will be going on. So in addition to listening to the message of the Holy Father, it will also be an opportunity for celebration. And when it comes to celebration, you don't have to tell Mexicans twice. In this case, the celebration will go along with a great affection for Benedict XVI.
Upon arrival, the Pope will also greet several of Mexico's ambassadors to the Holy See, from the one who's currently serving right now to others who served in recent years. During his visit, the Pope will be giving keys to the cities of Guanajuato and also Siloé and León. Then the Pope will fly by helicopter to Mexico's Cubilete Hill. From up above, he's planning on blessing the monument, which is quite symbolic for the country's religious history. And of course, Mexicans know that the Pope loves music, so there's also a bit of a surprise.
Hundreds of children who are part of an orchestra are preparing a surprise for the Pope with a song titled Hope. They're kids who never had access to musical instruments, but even so, they've developed an extraordinary talent. They're mostly underprivileged children who found in music a means of expression. It will be a very interesting concert and a gift for Benedict XVI.
Just 5 key moments that will surely make Benedict XVI's trip to Mexico an unforgettable one.
And after Mexico, it's on to Cuba, where lately people protesting against that country's government are grabbing much of the attention. A bishop there is denying reports that violence was used to remove demonstrators from a cathedral. According to Catholic news agency, Cuba's state-run media reported that the bishop used violence and even slapped one of the protesters. The bishop acknowledges exchanging words with a protester but denies hitting the man. Protesters also occupied a basilica and another cathedral in Cuba in an effort to get an audience with Pope Benedict when he visits there next week. Stay with Currents for exclusive reports from Pope Benedict's Latin America trip. The Net will also have extensive coverage of live events from Mexico and Cuba, including exclusive commentary. That coverage begins tomorrow night at 6:30 New York time, when Pope Benedict is scheduled to arrive in Mexico. Stay tuned. There's more Currents coming up. When we return, how a Catholic academy in Brooklyn is assisting those in need.
Our families want a good Catholic education for their children, regardless of whether they can afford it or not. That's what they want.
And finally tonight, although all the focus appears to be on the contraception mandate here in the U.S., it's not the only issue the church is addressing. U.S. bishops have repeatedly made calls to Washington lawmakers, urging them not to make cuts to the federal budget that would adversely affect those most in need. But lending a helping hand is not just a motto of bishops. It is at the center of what the church stands for. It's a point they drive home at a school here in Brooklyn, St. Joseph St. Dominic Catholic Academy in Williamsburg, which has one of the lowest tuitions in the Brooklyn Diocese, is assisting with the church's mission in these tough economic times, and it's our latest School of the Week.
With the economic downturn, several of our parents are struggling to pay the tuition. The lack of discretionary income affected several of our parents, and it is our responsibility as a Catholic school to preserve the Catholic identity of the school and the mission of the church. Our primary mission should be building community, and in building community, we reach out to these families and build trust. And in building trust, we allow them, those people who believe that the opportunity is not there, to trust and understand that we are there to provide that need for them.
The impact of the economy has definitely hit this community hard. I live in the neighborhood, so I know exactly what families are going through. I see the needs.
This community definitely needs our school, and we need them. You know, we're a team. We're community together. Our parents, they don't have to think about, oh how's my daughter doing? How's my son doing? Because they know that when they drop their students off here, they're well taken care of.
Our families want a good Catholic education for their children, regardless of whether they can afford it or not. That's what they want. That's their fundamental desire.
They want to come to our school and get more, a setting in which, you know, the teacher cares about you, and also we're all joined in one together with our Catholic faith. And, you know, that's the mission that we want to promote.
And I believe that we can do it. And we're totally committed to that.
We go to the homes, we speak to families, we speak to different communities to try to address and inform families that these opportunities are available for them.
We love all our children here, and we treat them and give them the best care that they can, as well as the best education. And I believe that the parents are very happy with what we do with their children.
Many immigrant families are not aware of opportunities that are afforded for them to allow their children to come into the Catholic school. Many of these people believe that the Catholic school is designed only for the rich. Their belief in a Catholic education is a dream that they want to reach, and it's a goal of the church that becomes our responsibility to fulfill.
You always say you want to provide the best education, or at least as good as anyone else. But then if you are true blue to your commitment, then you have to say that I want to do better. And if you always challenge yourself to go one step beyond, then you'll always provide what you want for those that you are serving.
I feel very much fulfilled when I come to school every single day. Just looking at them lights me up inside. And it's something that not anyone can take away. You know, you can have a bad day and you look at your children and it's like, you know, you're in here, I'm in here, and I know why, because I want to devote myself to my children.
I believe in every child in St. Joseph and Dominic Academy, and my reason for believing in them is that several years ago, when I was in my second year of high school, I was thrown out of high school because my mom had lost her job and was unable to pay the tuition. And a nun was the one who assisted my parents in paying my tuition to afford me a Catholic education.
I believe the children do appreciate what they are getting here, and there are many students here who have told me their aspirations and their dreams. I would love to see some of my students come back and tell me, yes, Miss Charles, I did graduate from law school. Yes, Miss Charles, I did graduate from medical school. And yes, Miss Charles, I am that art teacher that you told me that I would be when I was drawing in class.
Children from disadvantaged families benefit more from a Catholic education. Therefore, the necessity of our contribution to this effort is important, it's godly.
And I believe that giving back is an important way to live your faith.
And in building communities as part of our church's mission, we who have been afforded that opportunity can give back and be blessed as we prepare for our own salvation.
And that is all for this edition of Currents. Now, coming up tomorrow, the day is finally here for the Pope's arrival in Mexico. We'll look at what's ahead for the Holy Father over the next few days. Until then, be sure to visit us online at currentsny.net. We're also on Facebook and on Twitter. For all of us here at Currents, I'm Liz Faublas. Thank you for watching and have a good night.